If my mouth, like around my mouth and my nose looks really red, that's because I was blowing my nose for like 4 days straight. So, you know, it's fine. What is up, gays? It is Gabe, and I'm back with another video. This was not the video I planned on making this week, but, you know, stuff happens, and I have spent 3 or 4 hours today writing a script for this. I have never done a scripted video before, so if my eye contact is off or I seem like a little mechanical, that is why. I'm going to try my best to make this seem like a normal, casual talking video, but I just wanted to be able to get my points across in a way that was cohesive. So without further ado, let's get into it. So, Unif. Unif has been a brand that has exploded in popularity over the last few years. They started out doing punk-inspired things, like lots of tie-dye and like anarchy symbols, and their logo used to be like the triangle with the eye and stuff. It was pretty edgy, like Dolls Kill-ish stuff, with a pretty high markup. But, you know, you get what you pay for. Their stuff has been reported in the past to have very good quality and was all made in Los Angeles, which is really great. And they have said that they always use ethical practices while manufacturing and distributing their goods. And that is great. And that's how a lot of people see themselves being able to buy their clothes for such a high price, because they're paying for the quality and the assurance that they are getting what they're asking for, which is ethical manufacturing. Cut to 2019, and to me it seems that none of that is true anymore. And today we are going to get into it. First off, we are going to talk about the Instagram account Unif copied. And I was made aware of this account a few months ago when they actually reposted a picture of some vintage bongos that I had found, and I was super happy about them, and they sold right away. It was super cool. But they actually put the bongos that I had found, it's like a picture of my mom's feet, I'm pretty sure. I said in the comments that they were my feet, but remembering now they were like a size 6, so it's probably my mom modeling. So they put a picture of my bongos next to Unif's trail shoes, and they're literally identical, like down to the logo. And I was like, that is very interesting. And at first, I kind of just didn't think much of it. I've seen some of the other things on their account, and I actually thought it was kind of cool what they were doing, because they were taking some very hard to find vintage pieces and they were actually like redistributing them, making them more readily available by making recreations. And I was like, that's a pretty cool thing to do, bring vintage to a new audience. But I'm going to talk about why my opinion of that has changed. So even if the company is no longer around, the amount of theft, and that's what I'm going to be calling it, either copying or theft, because I honestly don't know what a more PC term would be for me to call it other than theft and copying. It's ridiculous, the amount of things they have stolen. Like, if you look on their Instagram feed, every single item I feel like can be accounted for as a vintage item. It's insane how much inspiration they have taken, and the copies are not just like, oh, well, they, you know, like raglan style tees were popular in the 90s, so we did a raglan style tee, and we did like a cute thing of our logo. No, it's literally an exact copy, and I will be putting screenshots all throughout this video. It's exact. I can't describe to you like how minute the detailing that they took from these companies is. They're creating almost no original designs now. It's gotten to that point where none of their designs are original anymore, which was not true at all in the past and was the reason that I actually really admired them. Even if the company doesn't exist anymore and are not technically being hurt from this theft, Unif is still benefiting from an overall lack of creativity, which is a problem for a brand that is known for its individuality and alternative fashion. And I was on the fence for a long time about this, but as I started thinking about it and as I started seeing Unif copied explanations for this, it kind of all started to click for me. And I think what really made it click is just how excessive it is. It's literally insane. So a lot of companies actually do take inspiration from 90s designs, and there is absolutely no problem with that. Like, a good example is iGirl. iGirl is not a perfect company. Bella is not perfect, like, most of us are not, but she does have this one t-shirt, and it has iGirl with the little, like, logo, and it's actually a recreation of Hole's logo from the 90s. And if you guys know me, Hole is one of my absolute favorite bands. I'm a huge Courtney Love fan. I'm so into them. I love them. The thing that's interesting about this is every post that I could find where she's advertising the tea, and even on her Depop where she was selling the tea, I'm not sure if it's in circulation now anymore, she says, oh, this was inspired by Hole. And that was very good. That's a very good practice to me. And I think the fact that it's literally, like, it's just her logo, like, on a white t-shirt, like, her logo name with the whole background, it's almost kind of subversive in a way, and it's just, like, a cool throwback, and I feel like it's just kind of, like, an interesting homage. And that's what I mean by the intention really matters. I have never seen, Unif say, oh, we are an homage, or we are a 90s inspired brand, and we take lots of inspirations from these different places. They have never said anything like that. They say, we have a team of designers that design our clothes, and that's just not true. They're blatantly taking these designs from other sources and recreating them. Another thing is that they are not just doing vintage clothes anymore. In some of their latest drops, they have been taking inspiration, it's literally blatant copy pasting of some Sandy Lion stickers. And if you don't know, Sandy Lion, I believe they're still around today, is a sticker brand that was really popular in the 80s and 90s, and they have beautiful, just super unique stickers. And as silly as it sounds, stickers are a form of art. Like, I love stickers, and they have become, especially in the past few years, a collector's piece that people will display instead of using. And the stickers that they use are gorgeous stickers, and you can see how they just blatantly copy them. Like, I think on the mushroom one, they changed the color. But, like, even the mushroom ones, they were the felt stickers, so they, like, had some texture to them. And then the Unif mushroom top literally is the same felt texture. This is a huge problem to me as a vintage enthusiast and sticker fan. It's just so unoriginal. Like, I couldn't believe it when I saw it. And I actually recognized one of their stickers, the bear one with the flowers, right away. And I actually submitted that to Unif Copy, and some other people have come forward with sticker designs as well. This makes you really wonder. So if you guys don't know, Syd Nasty is actually a designer for Unif, and I can't find a exact date from when she was just an influencer who supported Unif and was a fan and wore a lot of Unif to when she actually started working for them and became a designer for them. There's not an exact date, but I wouldn't be surprised, again, we're putting on our tinfoil hats here, if her joining was around the same time as they moved in this new direction of copying vintage. So now we have the copying out of the way, let's get into some screenshots. I'm going to be using mostly screenshots from my Instagram story because that has like a linear storyline of how this all went down. So my recent suspicion of Unif started on Kara the Balloons. I mention her a lot. She's my gal. Post about their new sweater, the Melody sweater. This sweater, this post, you can see it's an Instagram TV. She is comparing the Melody sweater to an 90s Express sweater, and it is virtually identical to the design, the zipper, it even has the O-ring zipper, the collar. The only thing different is that they made it a little more pink and purple toned. And this jacket slash cardigan is going for $235 on Unif. So, yeah. Commented talking about my experience with Unif Copied and tagged them and said this is something they would be interested in. And I ended with like, oh, well, with all of this said, I still really, appreciate that Unif has ethical manufacturing, and that's something I admire from them. And as you guys know, it's been almost 6 months for me since I have tried to completely stop buying fast fashion, and Unif was going to be a part of that plan for me eventually. I was really thinking about getting the mushroom tea, actually. I haven't bought anything from them. I've actually never bought anything from their website. I have one Unif piece that's secondhand. I said this under the impression that I thought all of their clothing was still being made in Los Angeles. But I soon received a comment from someone who seems to be a longtime buyer stating otherwise, which we will get into later. And then soon I got a DM from somebody telling me to check Mirabelle's story, and it was pretty shocking, to say the least. Now, after talking to Mirabelle, I was able to get the gist of the conversation. Mirabelle is a plus-size model slash influencer. I had not heard of her up until this point, but now I have. She seems like a very cool person, and she expressed some concerns to Syd over Unif's blatant plagiarism of vintage pieces, which we talked about before, and stated she didn't think it was fair that people are expected to pay such a large amount for items they could theoretically find in a thrift store. Syd's responses were, and I quote, "Lol, just don't buy it," and "good luck finding that other option in your size with all the different colors and yarns we use, but keep complaining, sister." How professional. True businesswoman. Let's just give Syd a hand. That comment, "in your size," bothered Mirabelle to the point where she felt the need to share it on her public story, which she had every right to do, and I understand why. It seems like Syd is implying that Mirabelle is somehow too big to shop at thrift stores and find that express sweater, or even being able to shop at places that aren't as size inclusive as Unif is, apparently. The funny thing about this is Unif is not size inclusive, like, at all. According to their site, they carry sizes up to an extra large, which is fine and dandy, until you take a look at their sizing chart, which says their extra large is an equivalent to a US size 12 to 14, which is ridiculous. For those of you who may be unfamiliar with US sizing, I'll use myself an example. I am actually about a size 14 in dresses, tops, and jeans, and I usually can fit into a medium in tops, but my true size in like tops and bottoms and stuff is a large. Like I can, like this dress is a large, most of the stuff I wear is a large. And the fact that me, because I wear a large and not an extra large, I'm a person who wouldn't even be considered plus size if by industry standards, if I was a model. I honestly wouldn't be a model if by industry standards, because I am not a size 0 to 2 and I am not a size 16 to 18, which is about plus size model sizes. So that means me, who is not plus size, would be considered an extra large, which is Unif's largest size. And that makes no sense to me. A size extra large is usually considered to be a size 18, which is 3 sizes up from a size 12. Because remember, they say their extra large is a size 12 to 14. As you guys know, I am an avid thrifter and Depop seller, and I've never had a problem with finding clothes that are my size. Like, almost my entire wardrobe is thrifted. You guys know that. So to say to someone who I'm assuming is around the same size as me, because she is plus size and but she still is a customer of Unif who carries up to a size 14, to say that she won't be able to find clothes at a thrift store is ridiculous and flat out factually wrong. I reposted this screenshot to my story and I got many replies saying Syd's behavior was outright fat shaming and wrong. She began receiving a few comments, including one from me on her latest post, and now it seems all of them have been deleted except for mine for some reason. Don't really get that. I received a reply from someone saying she was deleting comments, and I asked if they had screenshots of these comments before they were deleted because I was planning on making a video. And then Syd immediately, I'm talking like 15 seconds after me posting that comment, messaged me. She said, "Hey, I'm pretty upset that my words were taken out of context and twisted in that way. My intention was not at all to fat shame / body shame. I meant that the vintage piece that inspired the Unif one is hard to find in any size. I'm not fat-phobic in any way and never made any comments about her or anyone's weight. The whole thing is just blown out of proportion." Wow. That's a weird way to take responsibility for your actions, Syd. First of all, in Kara's original Instagram TV video, she shows many examples of the original Express cardigan being sold on Poshmark for anywhere from $25 to $40 in multiple sizes. Syd didn't say in different sizes or in a specific size. She said in your size. I want to stress that. Quick reminder that this cardigan in question is $232 and the largest size is in a 12 to 14. Even if, and I say if, her intention was not to comment on Mirabelle's size, she was insensitive and just plain incorrect. But there's more. I sent the screenshot of what she said to Mirabelle, and she was like, oh my god, she sent the exact same thing. And she provided a screenshot, and it was verbatim the same text she sent to me that she sent to Mirabelle. This morning, I actually just got a message from another girl who got the same message as well. So she copy-pasted this message and sent it to 3 different people, which is just so sketchy and so ingenuine. Like, it wasn't nearly an apology or taking responsibility for her actions or saying, I'm sorry that you felt that way, which it was none of that. But either way, it's just completely ingenuine, and I don't know how she thought we weren't going to figure that out. I can't with this. I wasn't just going to not use this opportunity of her DMing me to bring up other issues with the company that I was discovering by the minute. I mentioned her seemingly only responding when I mentioned a public video was being made, and how I've been a fan of the company for a long time, years. But I've grown tired of their unoriginality and elitism. This is when she made the statement about fashion being cyclical, but then she makes the comment, we do our best to accommodate everyone and be inclusive and treat others with respect. Very inclusive. This brings me to another strange part of the story. I spoke with another alternative fashion YouTuber who does videos on sustainability, The Stitches. I would highly recommend you checking out her videos. She has had some great observations about Unif in some of her recent videos, and I just overall, I love the way she carries herself and speaks her mind. It's very admirable to me, and it's part of the reason I decided to do this video. And she said that actually Unif used to carry a size 2XL, and she owned a piece that had a label that said 2XL. But granted, it was extremely small for being labeled that size, and she actually said she's able to wear it as a size small with it just being barely oversized. So that brings me to the question, how have they become even less size inclusive over the years in this socio-political climate where inclusivity is a top priority for many brands? And our best guess was money, of course. It's widely known that the more sizes a brand has, the more expensive the product is to create, because you're having to create more patterns, more labor, just all of those things, and that can add up. And I'm not trying to give excuses to brands that don't have size inclusivity by saying that. I'm actually saying the opposite. And it seems like Unif is cutting corners in a lot of ways, but not just in reducing their sizing. So not that long ago, all of Unif's clothing labels said made in Los Angeles, and over the years they seem to have transitioned into saying made in China. Again, it's well known that manufacturing in China is cheaper, and with that comes a lot of red flags, especially with Unif's pricing staying the same and in many cases increasing. As you guys know, I have stopped my consumption of fast fashion and clothing in general that's made in sweatshops, and with that, I have started avoiding clothing that's made in China. And it's true that not all manufacturers in China have underpaid workers and unsafe working conditions. There are worse countries like Bangladesh, India, etc. And the country has made efforts in the past few years to regulate their manufacturing. So, like, go teams. But it's mostly because of the harsh backlash that they faced. But it is still true that China does not have nearly the same level of regulation that the US has. This means that it's up to the individual companies who are contracting these factories to make sure they're paying workers a living wage and working under safe conditions. And in many cases, that just doesn't happen because it's not a priority for them all the way in the US. Looking into Unif's responses to this criticism, it's actually done pretty well, and it makes me think positively of the company. According to the co-founder on Twitter, "We are friends with our factory in China. We have been so for over 10 years. They only make Unif items, so it's a small family business like ours. I can assure you they are all living well because we pay a higher than standard price for their work, hence why our prices aren't cheap." That makes sense on a surface level, but there's a lot to unpack here. First off, they say that they have been friends for over 10 years, and I don't really know what that means, being friends with the factory. What does that mean? It's important to note, if we have a timeline here, that Unif as a company has only existed for 9 years, which is less than over 10 years. And like I said, until recently, the tags on their clothing said made in LA. So how have they been friends with this company who only manufactures their clothing for over 10 years when the company has only existed for 9 years and they've only recently started manufacturing in that country? Unless they have some kind of time machine that I'm not aware of, it doesn't make sense to me, at least. I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong. This brings us to something important, because not only is what they're sharing wrong, but they're under no obligation to tell the truth on their Twitter. And what's more important is what they're not sharing with us. What they've stated above is pure PR, and it has no actual facts in it. It uses terms like, "we pay them higher than standard." That means nothing. That could mean higher than anything or lower than anything. And they do also state that they do yearly visits to the manufacturer, which is not ideal. Like, ideally it would be monthly, but, you know, good for you. And that the workers' payment is higher than standard. But again, what does that mean? There's no information on their site of any kind about quarterly reports, wages, things like safety inspections. There's just nothing. And as far as I know, they've never shared a picture of who makes their clothes or the factories they work in, so what are they hiding? Let's keep in mind that a company who has nothing to hide would actually take joy in sharing these things if they truly believed they were acceptable. Let's take a look at one of my favorite brands, Big Bud Press, as an example of this. Now, Big Bud Press is an amazing example of transparency, and that is a big topic when you were talking about corporations like this, especially garment distributors. They have hundreds of Instagram stories saved on their account showing the production of their products, who's making them, and the environment that they work in. I love this post especially. They're taking photos of their sewing shop that is owned by the company. The post is from June 27th, and at that time they say 25% of their clothing is made in that shop that they're showing pictures of, and they can't wait for that number to go up. They do a great job of answering questions in the comments as well, which is important. They're not ignoring or deleting these questions like Unif has done in the past. One of them being, where are the other 75% are made? And they reply, a couple different sew shops around Los Angeles. Another person asks if they should have the day off because of fumes, which I'm not really sure what they're referring to. Maybe because one of the pillars looks newly painted, and it looks super cute, by the way. And they also ask if the workers are paid hourly or by per piece sewn. And this is a really important question when looking at the ethical practices of a clothing company, because if workers are paid per piece sewn, they often aren't given the same pay as if they worked hourly, and which it has more consistent wages as well, of course. If they're being paid per piece sewn, it could even be under the minimum wage. They respond saying that there are no fumes in the shop and that the workers wear masks to prevent fabric particles getting into their lungs. So, just again, good job, Big Bud Press. Like, keep doing you, keep being amazing, keep setting the standard, honestly, for what a company should be doing to share with their audience so their audience feels comfortable buying from them and knowing that their money is going to a cause. And I'm going to close this out by saying, maybe you don't care about all of the things that I'm talking about, copying designs, not having inclusive sizing, just bad customer service in general from the co-founder and from Syd. I feel like once you are a part of a big conglomerate like this, it is your responsibility to not act like an influencer anymore. You are no longer an influencer, you are a brand representative for this company, and your snappy comebacks aren't going to be seen as cute or funny anymore. They're going to be seen as unprofessional, because they are. So you may not care about all of these things, but hopefully you care about at least some. And I hope you just take these into consideration before you consider buying from Unif again, or not buying secondhand, buying directly from the store. Because I actually just watched this documentary, Tiny Shoulders, yesterday, and it was really, really interesting. And I think Gloria Steinem said that there are two ways that us as US citizens vote. We vote by voting, where everyone is equal, and that's amazing. And then we also vote every day with our dollars. And so think about the money that you are spending and if it's worth your vote, and if you think you are letting others' voices be heard by voting with your dollars. So that's just something to think about. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video and you found it informative. And if I missed anything, make sure to comment down below and I can try to answer the questions as best as I can. Once again, thank you for Kara for starting this conversation. Thank you for Unif Copied for having a bunch of resources available, and thank you to the Stitches for having a really genuine conversation with me earlier today and helping me get my shit together when I was writing the script. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.